I watched your talk with Sargon, and I was like, wow, this is this is pretty good.
The second one, I hope. We had two talks. Like the first one was a fucking nightmare, dude. I was pulling my teeth out by the end of that one.
I can't remember. I know I watched both of them. Was the first one with that moderator dude?
Yeah, Adam Friended. Yeah.
That was a bit rough.
But yeah, it was a little rough, you know. But that's I learned from it. I learned my inner chakras. I'm controlling them now. I'm in lockstep. All 9 of them, or however many there are. Okay, I'm very calm now when talking to ludicrously unintelligent Britbongers. We're referring to, like Sargon of Akkad, for example, also referred to himself as a classical liberal up and until like him advocating for like ethno-states, for example, which is like a little strange there, you know.
Yeah, not really. That's not what I signed up for. Really.
Is that a lot of the people who were initially involved in Gamergate are now neo-Nazis, like a fair number of them. Like Metokur was like one of the biggest. And it's
apparently, YouTube personality Chris Ray Gun is now a woke SJW socialist. During a friendly conversation with YouTuber Vaush, Chris Ray Gun didn't hesitate to throw other YouTubers such as Sargon of Akkad, Adam Friended, and Mr. Metokur under the bus. You know, for being evil neo-Nazi ethno-staters. Of course, someone like Chris Ray Gun cannot suddenly go woke. It requires a process, like converting to Catholicism. You gotta go to someone who wears the robes of social justice, someone like Vaush, and confess your sins. And after that, you better hope and pray that the response you get isn't Nazi! Because having people judge you is going to be something that you're going to need to get used to. And if you can't even pass the first test, then I don't know what to say.
And there's a tweet specifically of me talking about that debate that gets thrown around a lot, and I understand it because it is just it's just blatantly incorrect.
This is, just to clarify, this is the wealthy black people commit more crime than poor white people one, right?
Right. Well, I was sharing a statistic that was brought up in the debate, and it seemed like I had looked it up, and it seemed like I had found something to pertain to the validity of it. And I was like, oh, what is this? Is this real? Like, apparently this is real. Can anybody does anybody have any counter information? Because I feel like the best way to counter information is to get, counter information and not just kind of fly off of the handle at how offensive it sounds.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you see data that contradicts with your worldview, you have to find out why that is. You can't just get mad at it.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of shared it with that intention, but it kind of just sort of comes across like I'm just sharing racist statistics.
Okay. No, that's it. That's totally fair.
And there's actually tweets below it that obviously never get
right. Well, I went back. I mean, I found archive links of the whole thread, so I saw the whole thing. I understand it in its context, but I know that specific issue is one that gets brought up a lot. A consistent pattern that I find, I think, is that different people will have different levels of this. This sounds like how do I phrase it? Like levels of awareness or levels of culpability for the type of content and the messaging that they produce.
While you're at it, Chris, why don't you just hand over your balls to Vaush so he can give him a firm squeeze while he lectures you about how close of a line you walked to becoming a full-on Nazi?
But if we're talking just morally, just prescriptively, what ought people do, I'm generally of the opinion that content creators, especially those who do political content or political adjacent content, have an incredibly high degree of responsibility over the outcomes of their behavior. So for example, I'm happy to be talking to you right now, and I think we have a great convo, but back in 2016, if I had had the opportunity to talk with you, if my channel could have somehow been large enough back then and we could have talked or something, I probably would have treated you fairly comparably to a lot of the morons that I argue with on my channel. Because, and not necessarily as a reflection of your intelligence, but because at the time I was at least concerned with the harm that could be brought about from the content that you produced. And I think that a lot of harm has been brought about from that old content. When I said I was going to be talking to you, people in chat linked me videos of yours saying, this was the video that sent me down the alt-right pipeline. Right.
Have you ever asked questions like, why is it the case that the United States and Europe has to have multiculturalism, has to have mass immigration, yet countries like China and Japan do not? Well, if you've asked questions like that, you need to apologize, because that's wrong thing. People aren't allowed to ask questions like that.
What is it?
There are a few tweets you typed out in 2017 that I would bet any amount of money that you now currently disagree with, at least disagree with the sentiment.
Okay, let me hear him.
Yeah. But I have to keep them happy. Steve King's baby premise is dumb, but I do find it odd that multiculturalism is only being championed in white majority nations. Like, everyone's fine with Asia, Africa, India being majority native, but it's this weird problem in America and Europe for some reason. I imagine that's probably something you'd, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was stupid. That was like really just uninformed about the greater political climate that was happening. Because I really wasn't, even, I think I've said this before, like even back then, I still really didn't see myself as political. I don't really know how now, looking back, but like at the time I really did think it was just like, oh, I'm just entertaining.
I remember watching a Louis Laval video about a year ago where he accused Chris Reagan of being a hypocrite shill for social justice. As far as I could tell, no one agreed with Louis or backed him up on this. It seems like he was just a lone dissenting voice coming from a niche YouTube channel that focused on, of all things, the politics of video games. But you know what? Louis was 100% right. Completely vindicated. Chris Reagan is nothing but a fake internet personality who is perfectly willing to shill for social justice warriors if it gets his channel more attention. Now, this change in personal politics, I'm sure, is a result of deep thinking on the issues. I'm sure Chris Reagan must have cracked open philosophy books and ruminated deeply about the injustices inherent in our society. I mean, it couldn't be the case that he saw that BreadTube was popular, so now would be a good time to change his grift. No, that couldn't be it. There's a reason why the left is growing in popularity right now, while the right is completely floundering. The people who are popular on the right, who should be leaders, are absolutely incompetent. Let's start with Sargon of Akkad. Remember back when Sargon of Akkad used to actually go on other people's shows? Because now it seems like all he does is release 8-minute long Akkad daily videos. Meanwhile, Vaush has no problem parading out former Sargon associates, all of whom are perfectly willing to shit on him and call him a neo-Nazi loser. All of these people on the right are fucking terrified of the prospect that they may be accused of being a racist. I mean, Steven Crowder, are you fucking kidding me? Is there a list of like only 6 people who are allowed to go on his show and that's pretty much it? You know what I don't see when it comes to the left? People who espouse popular views that are popular with the left wing, yet claim to be actually conservative. There are no left-wing pundits who are popular who take the position, oh, I'm actually a right-wing conservative, but I support socialism and Bernie Sanders for president. You don't see that. Yet you have people like Tim Pool releasing 13 YouTube videos a day shitting on the Democrats and Joe Biden, and he says, oh, I'm actually a leftist. I'm not even conservative at all. Or you have Sargon of Akkad posting video after video criticizing immigration and feminism, and then he says that he's not right-wing. He's actually a leftist, a classical liberal. He's not even conservative, guys. If you're terrified at the prospect of being labeled a conservative because people might think you're racist, then maybe you're not fit to be a leading commentator for the right wing. It doesn't seem like the left is very concerned about this. Here's an example of what's wrong with the right wing. Let's say some social justice warrior proposes something that's absolutely stupid. Like, for example, they say something along the lines of white people should not be allowed to become doctors anymore to make up for discrimination. So an SJW will make a claim like that, and then people on the left, like Vaush, will just discount it by saying that they don't agree with that position. Vaush would say something that while he shares the same concern for social justice that this person has, that this would be an extreme application of the ideology. Therefore, he doesn't support it, and it cannot be used as criticism for his underlying belief in support for social justice. Now, when someone on the right says something that's too extreme, that most mainstream right-wing leaders or pundits would not agree with, let's say that the person advocates for banning interracial relationships, the reaction on the right is that we need to quarantine elements of the conservative movement. We need to censor these people who might advocate more extreme positions than we want to take because they'll make us look bad. When people on the right express views that are too extreme or controversial, they need to be disappeared. Compare this.
Listen. Extra credits are good. Like, I like the site, okay? Or the channel. I like them. And I like their politics, okay? I'm not trying to shit on them for that. That's not what I'm here for. Maybe they've gotten worse lately. I don't fucking know. I like them, okay? It's cute. I like little animated video essays. It's cute. They've got the cute faces. This was a really bad video, and it gave ammunition to a lot of really bad political actors. I know that there are a lot of people out there who have made response videos to this point. Many of them arguing against the same points I did from a very, very different perspective. And videos like this give a lot of credence to people who say that SJWs are screeching, irrational censorship monsters who are just looking to eliminate all parts of media they don't like. We need to be really careful when we present our views which are critical of media to not feed into the stereotypes that cause people to turn against us.
To this
is because what the alt-right wants more than anything else in the world is attention. Some of them call themselves the New Right and swear they despise the founders of the alt-right. Some call themselves America First, trying to hijack President Trump's slogan to give themselves the patina of credibility. More on that in a second. Some name their movements after mammals, some after amphibians. It gets confusing. It's meant to be. When you believe all these garbage things, and you've said all these garbage things, and you are in fact a garbage human being, when your views are obviously white supremacist garbage, what do? You take 4 steps in order to legitimize yourself. Step number 1, the Trump gambit. First, you declare your allegiance to President Trump and declare that you're not really alt-right, even though you obviously are. You show up to lectures wearing a MAGA hat in order to get the media to cover it and in order to demonstrate that you are truly a representative of the 63 million Trump voters. You call yourself America First, hijacking Trump's slogan, but what you actually mean is white Americans first. The media eat it up because the media love nothing better than, of course, lumping Trump in with particularly this group. Okay, step 2, then you declare yourself the true conservatives, the true heirs to conservatism. And then we have step 3, which is to troll, right? You just show up at places like this and you say dumb things, then you tell all your friends how cool you are, and you tell edgy jokes about the Holocaust and cookies because, I mean, what could be funnier than that, obviously? I mean, that's just good stuff. And then finally, and this is the big one, you count on the left to help you out. Okay, the left will literally call anybody on the right alt-right, even if we say vocally and in no uncertain terms that the alt-right is pure, unbridled, vile garbage.
Do you see how Vaush easily steps around this problem without subjecting himself to criticism, while Ben Shapiro acts in a way that is entirely insecure and insincere? So you end up with this situation where all of the leading, most influential people on the right are either leftists or fake leftists. People like Jordan Peterson, Sargon of Akkad, etc. Anytime someone from the right has a take that's just a little too spicy, they get cast out of the movement. Here's a good example. One of the ethno-state YouTubers called out by Chris Reagan and Vaush was none other than Adam Friended. I watched a video where Adam Friended and his co-host live streamed a fucking inquisition into whether another YouTuber, No Bullshit, was a secret racist. No Bullshit is a guy who makes videos about bullshit. Things like South Park episodes and video games. So has the conservative movement benefited at all from the right's attempt to portray itself as this reasonable, moderate group of centrists. Because to me, it seems like it's done nothing more than attract a bunch of grifters with no real political convictions who are perfectly willing, at the drop of a hat, to go back and join the left when it's advantageous for them. Vaush has no problem saying things like, yes, I support social justice, I'm a social justice warrior, but I don't agree with this extreme thing being advocated by this other social justice warrior. Why can't right-wing pundits say things like, while I support an end to mass immigration and I support traditional values and cultural norms, I do not agree with this other right-wing person's more extreme proposal that would ban interracial relationships. Likewise, because I don't support this extreme position being advocated by someone else, it cannot be used as a criticism of my support for traditional norms and cultural values. Is that not a better way to deal with the problem than accusing this other person of not being an authentic part of the conservative movement, then pretending like you have nothing in common whatsoever with this other person? But anyways, that's all I've got to say on this issue. If you like this video and you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe.